Go ahead and a couple of administrative actions. I have House Bill 342 and House Bill 561 at the request of the patron, myself. They'll go by for the day. And just sort of administrative, also just sort of give it a line of sight into what's going on. We've got a pretty heavy docket in this subcommittee, and you can see we're up against caucus, and so we don't have a lot of time. We're going to get through our agenda as quick as we can. We are going to have to schedule an extra meeting, and probably it's going to be this Thursday in the afternoon. So everyone keeping track of the schedule needs to be aware of that, and we're going to try to plow through the agenda as much as we can. So with that, our first delegate to present is Delegate Seibold's bill. I asked that she go first. I know she has folks here to testify. House Bill 689.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a substitute.
Move substitute.
Second.
All right, why don't you explain your substitute?
The substitute basically switches the bill from puts less pressure on OCME and creates more of a review team. So I'll go into the details in my speech to let you know about it. May I proceed?
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, imagine waking up one morning to find that your healthy child has died in their sleep of no apparent cause. This is the reality of the families of victims of sudden, unexpected death in epilepsy, or SUDEP, which robs families of their loved ones with no warning. A SUDEP is defined as a death in a person with epilepsy that is not by drowning, injury, or any other known cause. It is not a death resulting from a seizure or aspiration, but rather a label given when someone with a previous diagnosis of epilepsy is found dead without any explanation. SUDEP is not a cause of death. Therefore, it can't be a natural cause of death. Experts regard SUDEP as the leading epilepsy-related cause of death, killing an estimated 2,600 people per year in the United States. Some estimates put this figure even higher at 1 in 1,000 deaths in people with epilepsy. Despite this data, there exists no adequate framework to investigate these deaths in the Commonwealth. HB 689 creates the SUDEP review team. Structured similarly to the maternal mortality review team, this initiative will ensure that cases involving a death consistent with SUDEP are thoroughly analyzed and investigated. The Epilepsy Foundation of Virginia has committed to funding this review team. To be clear, we're not requiring OCME to conduct autopsies. Rather, they will be reviewing electronic medical records of cases that they have identified as being consistent with SUDEP. Very little is known about what causes SUDEP because there's limited public awareness, limited training for healthcare professionals, and a lack of standard investigative procedures and data collection practices. The establishment of the SUDEP review team, as presented in this bill, will combat this problem, ensuring that cases consistent with SUDEP are thoroughly investigated by a group of professionals, and that the data collected is made available to allow further research and public awareness surrounding SUDEP. Every SUDEP death is not just a statistic, but a profound loss that leaves families grieving and communities heartbroken. Mr. Chair, I have a constituent here today who has driven down from my district to tell you about the story about her daughter's tragic death from SUDEP, and we also have a parent online who would like to share her story as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seibold. Any members of the subcommittee wish to ask a question? Okay, so why don't we go ahead and hear from the audience. Anyone here to speak in favor of House Bill 689? Please come forward. Yes, ma'am, please come forward. State your name and tell us why you support the bill.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Julie Kylo. I'm a parent from Virginia, Vienna, Virginia. In 2010, our daughter Kristen started having seizures her senior year in high school. She was excited about going to college as a Division I student athlete, and we were excited, but also very nervous because the medications she was taking were not controlling her seizures. We were never told 13 years ago that there was a chance she could die from a seizure. And on January 13th, 2011, she went to bed in her college dorm room and never woke up, and it was SUDEP. These days, people are more aware of SUDEP, especially through organizations like the Epilepsy Foundation. Approximately 84,000 people in Virginia have epilepsy, and all of them live with the knowledge that they could go to sleep and not wake up. Chances are you may know somebody with epilepsy. So think about that quality of life. Not only living with seizures, but living with the fear and the stress of knowing every night could be their last. I am here to stress the importance of this bill and how it can help find answers by producing needed data. The only way to get specific data is to pass this bill for families, sisters, brothers, parents like me, that we all desperately want answers. After losing his sister, my son committed his life to studying neuroscience. In a few months, he will receive his PhD with a focus on seizures. He and many others in research need more data. Think about the future. This bill can educate and I believe prevent people from dying like my Kristen. Please, let's take unexplained out of Suit Up. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. All right, is anyone else in the audience to speak in favor? How about online? We have Ms. Jacobs. Oh, I'm sorry, there's someone here in the audience. I apologize. Ms. Jacobs, please hold. Go ahead.
My name is Adam Gibson. I represent the Epilepsy Foundation of Virginia today. Epilepsy is one of the most common neurological diseases in the United States. Nearly 85,000 people in Virginia alone have epilepsy, and 1 in every 1,000 of them are predicted to die in a strange phenomenon called sudden unexpected death in epilepsy, or SUDEP. According to the CDC and the New England Journal of Medicine, SUDEP means the sudden death of an individual that is not by any known cause. This is a highly unusual phenomenon that is currently without any explanation. However, the latest medical evidence suggests that SUDEP could be a result of identifiable and preventable causes of death, such as abnormal heart rhythms or severe kind of sleep apnea. But further public health data is needed to investigate such causes of death, to determine who is at most risk of SUDEP, and to find out what preventative measures might be taken to save individuals at highest risk. During a recent meeting with the Chief Medical Examiner, Dr. Gormley, and State Project Manager Keisha Singleton, the Medical Examiner's Office shared with us their idea for how we could address SUDEP in Virginia. They sent us a written proposal for a SUDEP review team molded after the successes of other review teams overseen by their Division of Death Prevention. These other teams include the Virginia State Child Fatality Review Team and the Maternal Mortality Review Team, which this legislation is specifically modeled after. Because the Medical Examiner's Division of Death Prevention has had such valuable successes in studying the child and maternal mortality through the use of such review teams, we agree that this is the best first step forward toward addressing SUDEP in Virginia. States like New York and Illinois require their medical examiner's offices to undergo full investigations of any suspected SUDEP cases. In Connecticut, medical examiners are required to undergo specific training to better fully understand and identify SUDEP. In New Jersey, the medical examiner is required to oversee a research oversight committee to assist in developing and reviewing protocols to investigate SUDEP. Likewise, the Virginia Medical Examiner's proposed SUDEP team, as outlined in this bill, will be a meaningful and effective way to further our understanding of these tragic deaths. The Virginia Department of Health has existing partnerships with FDA and HIPAA-compliant databases called REDCaps, which are free for nonprofit and government institutions to use. REDCap databases are an excellent low-cost solution already in place at the Virginia Department of Health for managing the kind of electronic medical records which would be studied by the SUDEP review team. The proposed legislation to create this team has the complete and enthusiastic support of the Epilepsy Foundation of Virginia, and we are prepared to contribute substantial financial support to ensure that the work of this team is successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Yes, ma'am, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Catherine Ford with the Virginia chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and we support the bill.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? All right, now we can go online. Ms. Jacobs, are you there? Looks like you're on mute, Ms. Jacobs, if you're speaking.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Please proceed. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for your time. Good morning. I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak today. I appreciate and honor this body and the work that you all do, and I truly value this chance to have my point of view heard. I offer my condolences to the mother who spoke a few minutes ago on the death of your daughter. My name is Jill Jacobs. I live in Woodbridge, Virginia, and I've been a Virginia resident since I moved to Fort Belvoir as a military spouse in 1996. We retired from the military in 2004 and chose to make the Commonwealth our home. I'm asking all of you today to vote in favor of HB 689. HB 689 centers on SUDEP, which stands for Sudden and Unexpected Death in Epilepsy. This legislation, if passed, will make tools and forms available to medical examiners to identify SUDEP. As a cause of death, would require training for these medical professionals about SUDEP, and would ensure information about SUDEP is available to both professionals and the public on Virginia's medical websites. This would be a very low-cost initiative. A bill about SUDEP was initially introduced in the General Assembly in 2022. It was continued in 2023, and in 2023 it failed to get enough votes to pass. I wish this bill had passed, because if it had, information would have been publicly available here in the Commonwealth, and that information could have saved lives. I cannot tell you how many lives could have been saved, because data about SUDEP deaths is not currently gathered here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. People who have died of SUDEP are not currently counted in Virginia. HB 689 would remedy that. It would gather data about SUDEP deaths. One of the people whose death was not counted is my son, Colin Alexander Jacobs. Colin died just 3 weeks ago. Colin was 31 years old. He was an incredible person, a loving man, a giving human being who loved his family, his community, and his life here in Virginia. And we loved him right back. My son's life ended 3 weeks ago. Had we known more about SUDEP, we could have taken a very simple step of having something like a seizure mat on his bed. Perhaps that might have saved Colin's life, but we did not know. We just didn't have the information we needed. And so my son, Colin Alexander Jacobs, died. Data about his death will not be gathered. I wish it was. I wish the deaths of everyone who died of SUDEP or who dies of SUDEP in the future would be counted, so this data could prevent the deaths of others. I ask that you vote yes on this bill today. As I said, this piece of legislation would be very low cost, just a drop in the Commonwealth's budget. But the cost to families like mine, and most importantly to people with epilepsy whose lives will end if it isn't passed, is immeasurable. I cannot put a dollar value on my son's life, and I ask that you don't put a dollar value on his life or the lives of others with epilepsy either. Kindly support the passage of HB 689 by voting yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs, and our heartfelt sympathies go out to you and your family. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to House Bill 689? Okay. Any questions from the subcommittee?
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Hodges, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank the patron for bringing forward the legislation. I was just wondering if anyone is here from the Chief Medical Examiner's Office or possibly VDH to speak to the bill and give a thumbs up.
Good morning, I'm Bill Gormley, Chief Medical Examiner. And we've had an opportunity to review the substitute and have made some suggestions. And as indicated, we did try to outline to the patron and the Epilepsy Foundation how our study teams work and how that could possibly help select the data or collect the data that's would be useful in Virginia.
Okay, thank you. All right, subcommittee works on motion.
Move to report.
Move to,
Substitute.
move to report to substitute, properly second. Please vote on your electronic voting device. Clerk will close the roll. Bill reports to substitute 8-0. Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Siebold. Delegate Taylor. You have House Bill 52.